Welcome to the How Soccer Explains Leadership podcast, where we explore leadership principles through the lens of the beautiful game.
Welcome back to How Soccer Explains Leadership. Thanks again for being a part of the conversation. I'm your host, Phil Dark, and I have with me again Paul Jobson, my co-host, brother-in-arms, and today we are going to be talking about the World Cup coming up. It's actually this Sunday. I'm pretty psyched about it. I mean, even with all the stuff that we're going to talk about, the corruption, the other thing, the players still play, and I'm really excited about these different teams being able to come together and play on the world stage. Before we get into a little bit of that, Paul, what's up?
Oh man, it's good to be back with you again, Phil. Things are good here in Waco. We did some wrestling this weekend with one of the kids. We got football wrapping up. We had the big kind of end of the year fundraiser for Warrior Way Gives that went well. Trying to stay healthy as the temperature changes from the mid 90s to the mid 40s and 50s in Waco, so everybody freaks out. I actually had my big puffy on today, and it was 50 degrees. I kind of had to laugh at myself, but yeah, man, things are great here, man. How about you guys out there in Cali land?
Yeah, we skip fall too. Fortunately, we have a few trees that are pretty, but that's about it. That's all we got. The weather did not go into that beautiful fall weather, unfortunately. But the guy starting up high school soccer, always a really cool time and a tough time because of cuts and all that stuff. But you're making dreams come true and you're crushing dreams all in the same time, and that's it's really cool to see the one side of it. It's always hard to do the other, but yeah, just lots of year-end stuff. Love to hear about Warrior Way and the great results of the fundraiser. That's always exciting to hear. Got year-end stuff, of course, with the ministry and all that, but and just plugging away and really got a lot of balls in the air and trying to keep them going and making sure that they're the right balls too. And that's always a constant leadership decision too, right? We talk about all that stuff. We all have these different decisions to make on what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be doing it and to make sure it's the right things. And so, one thing I want to clarify is your boy was wrestling it as a sport, not you were actually you probably wrestled with them all at some point over the weekend, but that is what's going on here too.
Yeah,
right?
I guess that is good to clarify because probably just assume that the Jobson boys are always wrestling, which is true. That is a household event. But yeah, I've got one who's entered the competitive world of wrestling, trained for an entire year. We told him, hey, if you want to wrestle, that's great. It's a big commitment. If you train for an entire year, then at the end of that year, we'll start putting you in tournaments. And he did it, man. 4 hours a week, 2 days a week for a year to be able to do that. So I give him credit on his persistence and his effort. But yeah, we did our first tournament this weekend, and it's actually a lot of fun. So there's something to that, 1v1 event where it's you and the other person. And if you lose, it's on you or to their credit and vice versa. There's no hiding. In soccer, you can hide a little bit. Football, basketball, you can hide, because you've got teammates and they can assist you. But in wrestling, man, it's you and that other person. And that's it. So it's truly a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, that is cool. That is super cool. That's actually one of the things we talked about with baseball too, with Justin when he was playing this last time. It's a team sport, yes, but it's such an individual sport too. As far as when a pitcher and a batter, they're going they're going head to head, and there's nowhere to hide, like you said. You can't, if you strike out, you can't just be like, oh, it's somebody, a guy, somebody didn't get me the pass or whatever, And if you're pitching and you're getting crushed, you're out there on that mound, and it doesn't feel like there's 8 other people on that field with you. It feels like you're all alone on that mound. And so there's so many, that's what I love about sports. There's so many great lessons in all the different sports and really cool stuff. And I think the hard work and all that comes with all of them. But yeah, that's so cool. I'd love to hear. Like I'm excited to hear like as it progresses with wrestling and I know football and these different sports and the Jobson house to see where they end up with the 2 very high level soccer parents, or if they all end up there, who knows? That's cool. It's always a fun little thing to see the journey of these kids in those different sports and being in Texas, it's kind of hard to avoid football.
So we don't get fact checked. So I don't want to get fact checked. We have one very high level soccer player in this house. One very high level.
Okay.
One sub maybe average level. So I don't want to get fact checked, here on the podcast and come back and be like, oh, we're making stuff up.
Yeah.
So one high level soccer player and an average soccer player in this household. So
I would not call Marcy average, Paul.
Now you're going to get me in trouble, Phil. Now you're going to get me in trouble.
Paul,
Right,
you were part of the blue hose.
Over.
You were part of the blue hose. We've already established this, man. That's as high as it gets. Scottish stockings. We've already talked about this, bro.
2-time South Atlantic Conference champions, a run in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's pretty powerhouse, right?
Yeah.
Compared to a pro in Germany and the U.S. and the U.S. national team, right? I mean, come on.
It's pretty amazing. I do expect. I'm still waiting to see the actual blue stockings hanging up behind you as we record. It's one of these times. So
I'll have to get them to send me some.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. All right, so let's get to it. We are going to do a World Cup preview today, as promised, and but as we alluded to a little bit earlier, it wouldn't be a World Cup preview show with the World Cup in Qatar. If we were to do one in Russia with the Russia too, it would have been the same thing, by the way. But it wouldn't be that preview show without talking about the corruption that happened in order to get this into Qatar. And I actually watched FIFA Uncovered on Netflix. It's a four show docuseries. Very, very good. Strongly recommended. If you want to see from start to present FIFA and the corruption and the money behind the scenes and how it's just a bunch of businessmen that are making money on the sport rather than a bunch of people who really care deeply about. So it seems like all the people who are the football or the global football people don't get voted in. They don't play the game, or they don't do whatever, and they don't get voted in as that president role. And a lot of times they're not even the ones doing the local stuff for the different areas of the world. And so, there's so much that went on. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's sad, the amount of payoffs that happened in order to get to buy votes, things that, and it came down. Yeah, they arrested a bunch of people and there were some fraud charges, but most of those guys are still walking the streets. They're not spending life in prison or anything. And you know what? At the end of the day, it is a private organization. It's not a government organization. It's a nonprofit, so it's still under certain rules. Ironically, it's a nonprofit, and all these guys are profiteering off of votes. But from the beginning, getting advertising and marketing dollars and all these other things. But anyway, what do you think about all that? And what are some lessons we can pull out of it for our audience?
I think the thing that sticks out to me is accountability, right? I think that, when you get into a leadership position and you create, let's take this back to the very beginning when everything's kind of being created. I'd like to think that it was created initially for the good of the game and whatnot, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was created for the good of their pockets, and their livelihood. But I like to give people the benefit of the doubt at the beginning. Yep. But I think what can happen is when you jump in for whatever reason and you realize that money is a powerful tool, and sometimes things can get out of control. But if there's not accountability in leadership, there's not accountability with the people that are around you, you can lose yourself. And I think that's we talk a lot about mentorship. We talk a lot about having people alongside you that you can trust, that aren't just yes people, but people that can hold you accountable to what's going to actually be important. I think you even see it in building a coaching staff. I think it was always important for us that we could speak honestly with each other as a staff in the staffs that we built, to give that freedom of, hey, if we feel like somebody's going down the wrong path, whether it's recruiting or it's handling the budget or it's whatever it is, there's a checks and balances there that can keep you in your lane, so to speak. So all of that, I think I come back to the word accountability. Where was the accountability? Where was the person who was saying, hey, you know what? I think we're going the wrong direction. And there may have been that person, they may have been blackballed early on, but I think you have to, as a leader, you have to seek accountability. And that's kind of what stands out to me in all of that, because you can definitely get lost when you're talking about the millions, maybe billions of dollars that are being passed around for countries, and the economic impact that this tournament can have in these countries is amazing. So, I can see how people can kind of get lost in that, just knowing human nature and whatnot. But I just keep coming back to accountability.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. My daughter was watching the last couple of them with me, and she's a freshman in high school, and she's like, why would they spend that much money? Why would Qatar spend that much money paying off these people? I mean, it was like $1.5 million in and things like that for a vote. Like, it was crazy numbers. And And I said, well, they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars and billions of dollars in their country, first of all. It brings so much to the country, even though they had to build all the stadiums, even though all of the migrant worker issues and all of those things, we don't have time to get into the corruption and the tragedies that happened to make this thing happen, which is what is so hard about it. It's like, on one hand, you're like, why are we still playing? But you don't want to punish the players and the country for the ills and the wrongdoing of these other people. And sometimes you go, well, maybe you have to. Because like that, some people were saying during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we got to ban Russian athletes from everything. And it's like, man, that's such a hard conversation. I get it. I get both sides of it. It's so hard. But I said to her, to give kind of back what we were talking about, I said to her, and the other thing is, you can't underestimate what a country will do to get their team into the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even like South Africa, they were ranked 94th in the world when they hosted the World Cup. Yeah, they won the first game, which was crazy when we watched that. That was an amazing thing to watch. But they were still 94th. Like, they would not have made that World Cup. So what that brings, and that was another thing that was, when Sepp Blatter won the presidency, he said, I guarantee I'll bring the World Cup to Africa. Right. And then that's when it gets to South Africa. So it's like one thing after another. But Qatar, like, they basically bought their way into the World Cup too, which you can't underestimate that either. Because that is such a major, like, we don't get it here in the U.S. Because if you go around during the World Cup while the U.S. is playing and you asked people, do you know what's going on right now sports-wise around the world? Most people wouldn't even know. It's getting to be more and more. But I remember when I was working in a law firm and I can't remember exactly which World Cup it was. I think it was 2006 World Cup. And I was saying, yeah, I'm going to go watch the game. Oh, no, it was a 2002 World Cup. And I said, go and watch the game. They said, what game? And it was the U.S. playing, and I was going down to the sports bar. And they didn't even know they didn't even know it was happening.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, we don't deserve to have we don't deserve to have a winning team in the World Cup here in the U.S. But other countries literally shut down. It's everything for them. And so going back to you talked about, I think the pressure on that side leads people to do things they wouldn't do in a normal world, so to speak. And it causes them to gamble and take these chances and these risks, that other people will do to get their business ahead, to get whatever ahead, that they're going to do that for their country because it's that important to them. But the other thing that is lacking, so accountability is one, but in order to have accountability, you have to actually have the systems in place to hold someone accountable too, right? It's like in our nonprofit, and I'm sure you do the same. We don't have one person who, signs the checks and does the books. There's like 2 steps to the person that actually does our books and signs checks from me as the president. I don't touch any money. I don't touch any checks. I have to get my expense report approved by the board chair and some other people. Like, that happens for everything that goes through because it has to be 100% above reproach. Appearance of impropriety has to be gone. There has to be systems to allow for that. So if somebody questions it, you can say, no, like, go look at what we do. There's no way that possibly could have happened unless everyone is in cahoots. And I guarantee you all these people are not.
Yeah.
And that is completely lacking in FIFA. They have no idea how these things even happen. It's just basically these guys have a vote. The fact that the Caribbean has 30 votes, even though their teams are rarely ever seeing. Trinidad and Tobago made it into the World Cup, yes, but like, they're not even seeing the World Cup stage, yet they have 30 votes for the presidency, for where it's going to be, all that. That's crazy because it's one country, one vote. That's a system that actually encourages corruption, not discourages it. So anyway, those are the things that I really see out of it, that I think if you put those systems in place, the procedures and the processes in place, that will then lend itself to the accountability. But again, as we've talked about before on the show, really that 5 characteristics of a healthy organization that Patrick Lencioni's put together starts with trust, right? There's no trust in FIFA, and there's no trust within FIFA. They don't trust each other. And there's no healthy conflict going on. It's just people like undercutting each other, basically. So then you're not going to commit to the decisions and have those procedures and have those processes. And there's nothing to hold each other accountable to. So it's just a, you know what, show. So, but anyway, any kind of other thoughts on that? I mean, we talked earlier too about the fact that these aren't soccer people or football people, and how that's similar, as you were talking about, to the college. So what do you want to hear about that? Like what you're thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about how you've got these folks making decisions for sport, and that's not their thing. They're businessmen, which there's something to that, right? I think you need to understand business. It is a business, so you can't have just fully soccer people there who don't understand business, and I don't think you can have full business people there that don't understand the world game either. Yep. It just kind of reminded me of kind of where high level college athletics is going. I know for forever most of your ADs were former football coaches. You kind of when you graduated from being a college football coach, usually your next step, if you didn't go into retirement, was you became an AD. It was about that help fundraising. You were the name. If you'd had success at a university, you would be promoted up to an athletic director, and that would be kind of your next step if you had some business savvy and that sort of thing. Now you don't see that anymore. It's very rare that you find anybody who has really any coaching experience at a high level athletic director position. And of course, I'm not knocking athletic directors as a whole, but I do think there's a balance there of kind of understanding the thing that you're directing. It's not just about being a business leader, but it's about knowing the people that you're leading within that business. And I think when you were talking about it earlier, how there really weren't any people in the world of football leading FIFA, it just reminded me that of college, high level college athletics now, where there's really no coaches in administration anymore. And I think it would do universities very, very well to have a little bit more coaches input, because they're on the front lines with the athletes, and the administrators absolutely care a ton about the athletes, but the disconnect is very much there. And I think that getting coaches into the administration piece of it, those that want to, would be important. And I kind of see that overlap with FIFA too. I mean, I think of any business organization in general, if you don't understand the people that you're serving, the people that you're trying to lead or raise money for, or whatever that may be, I think you have a major disconnect, which can also lead to how do those systems go in place for accountability's sake.
Yeah. And also, I think there are businessmen who know the game, and that's basically the premise of this show, right? Like, there's a lot of people who are leading organizations, who are leading things out there that are soccer people who have played sports, at least played sports, and are people who are athletic and who understand the ins and outs of it, understand the things that matter. As you talked about with ADs, it's like they're hiring the coaches.
Yeah.
And they can bring advisors in, but do they even know which advisors to bring in? If they're not sports people, like, how do they even know that? It's something that I was watching this documentary and I was just blown away. This one dude from Chuck Blazer. He's one of the biggest, in the CONCACAF. He was one of the main dudes. And he basically in the 70s coached his two daughters and thought, oh, there's amazing potential for business and for money in this sport. I got to get involved in this somehow. And he's this dude who's like, obese dude and who'd never played the game. And he made tons and tons and tons of money on the game. And I mean, we all know that it didn't necessarily develop U.S. soccer as it should have. From the 70s on, it wasn't like it was developing incredibly well, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. We could go on and on. We're about 20 minutes in. I want to transition to the fun stuff. That's not fun. Like, that's not fun to talk about, but it's important to talk about. If you have organizations, you don't have those systems. If you have organizations, you don't have people that understand the people that are part of that organization, that are part of those teams, that are part of the athletic program. It's a problem. It's a problem. If you don't have, protections in place to protect from hubris, to protect from, I mean, how many clubs do we see? If you just Google embezzlement in youth sports, you will see way too much popping up. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hits. It happens way too often because there aren't processes in place, because people assume, oh, they're good people that just care about the kids. Well, I got news for you. They don't a lot of the time, unfortunately. A lot of times they do, but far too often they don't, and it's tragic. And so we have to be aware of it, and we have to protect against it. And that comes by, really bringing the right people in and demanding that they do it well. So, all right. So we got this little thing happening starting Sunday. Kickoff. We got Qatar versus Ecuador, and then it will culminate with a bunch of other games, and then we'll have a final in about a little over a month, right before Christmas time. Just crazy. It's happening this time of year. It just doesn't feel right.
I got a question for you. Are you going to watch that Qatar Ecuador game?
Am I going to watch it? Why? Like at a protest to not watch it? Is that what you're thinking?
No, not protest. Like, are you going to watch? Is it on your calendar to watch that game? And why or why not?
It's a crazy time, first of all. I don't know, man. I don't know. Or is it Saturday? I guess it's Saturday. No, it's not. No, it's Sunday. It's Sunday.
The 20th.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
It's the first game. It's the kickoff of the World Cup.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not a priority.
Right.
Because it's Qatar against Ecuador. It's like, there's no draw to that game for me. Except that it's World Cup.
Maybe it's right. It's the first game of the World Cup.
It's the first game of the World Cup. That's it.
Right. So that's the only draw to that match.
Pretty much.
I've talked to a few people over the last couple of weeks. They're like, man, I can't wait for the first game of that World Cup. I'm like, who is it? They're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you tell them and they're like, oh man, really? Okay, watch it anyway, because the first game of the World Cup. I've been waiting, 4 years or whatever it is to do this. So I just wanted to ask that because I'm the same way. I'm like, it's not a priority. If I happen to be able to watch it, I'll watch it.
And it's unlikely because it's not a great time. But also, it's Sunday. Also, it's like, you don't even know any of the players. And we just had, we haven't had a little bit of time. Usually with World Cup, Premier League ends, all the other leagues end, and then you have 3 weeks or so, and you're like, oh, I need some more football. And then middle of June, all of a sudden that first game's happened, and you're like, oh, finally more, great soccer out here. But that's just not the case. We just watched, a bunch of Premier League games, whatever your league is. Games. I mean, if you're a big MLS fan, it's been a little bit, but I have a feeling if you're a big MLS fan, you're also watching something else. But then I think that group, though, I think the other two teams in that group, Ecuador could be a surprise. If Qatar does it, I'm thinking there's some serious paying off of refs going on. But that Senegal and Netherlands, I think, both of those are tough teams. I think Senegal is one of my dark horse picks. I think they might do a little bit of damage in this World Cup. When you look through that lineup, there's a lot of really good players on that team that you see playing every Saturday, Sunday in the Premier League and other leagues around Europe. So, and Netherlands, man, other than that year they made it to the final. I don't know, man. They're them in Belgium. I feel like they just in England maybe they just kind of underperform every time. I'm like, man, guys are.
I think the big story that I'm reading, over and over again is everybody just talking about how the European dominance in the World Cup is coming to an end. That it's not the European clubs year after year or whatever that are just dominating. They'll get a round or two and fizzle out, kind of to what you're saying. But I just find that interesting, and I think, I don't know that my eventual champion will probably come from Europe. So
yeah. All right. So Group A. What are you gonna? I think that's a great point. I would be curious. Yeah, all right, out there, how many people are gonna be watching? How many people actually, or if you're listening to this after Sunday, did you actually watch? Let us know. Let us know that. I'd be curious. Let's get a little poll. Totally unscientific, unrepresentative sample, and get the poll of that. Okay, so Group A, who's coming out of it?
I've got Senegal and Netherlands also in opposite order. I think Netherlands comes out on top of that group, even though I do agree Senegal is they're really overlooked. Like you said, I think that the name of the country, I think there's guys on that team that you don't know. If you're not following it closely, you're just kind of like, oh wow, okay, Senegal. Yeah. But I think that they are the second place team out of that group. Netherlands coming out first.
I just think their speed may I know you have the thing is you got Van Dijk back there in the Netherlands and that's great, but they actually have a good keeper on Senegal too, because that's often a downfall of a lot of these African teams is their keeper isn't necessarily there. But now you're starting to see a lot of these great Premier League keepers with Mendy there. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I think both of them come out.
I think both of them come out. But for me, I've got to be just clear on this. Like, I'm a Netherlands fan too. So if it's close to me, I'm going to pick Netherlands because I there you go. He's got the jersey. I love the country. When the World Cup was in the USA, the Netherlands were in Florida. I got to hang out with their fans and their people, and just I've been to their country. I love their so if it's close, I'm going to pick that just out of emotion because I'm a fan of of their country and the way they play and the orange.
I'm with you. I really do like, I'm still hurting a little bit with the young not coming over to United too, though. So I'm, I'm not going to lie. And, with the Liverpool center, but I mean, I'm going, you know what? I wouldn't mind. Of course, Mane left Liverpool. So he's now, at Bayern. So I don't have any, negative thoughts of Mane anymore. So it's good. But no, I think probably you got to pick some upsets here because that always happens. And those African teams often their speed, their fire, their passion. I just they get excited in the World Cup. All right, Group B. This is one a lot of people are talking about. All 4 in the top 25. Not many people realize that Iran is a top 25 in the world rankings, and part of it, I think, is a lot of their players just they're tight. They play together a lot. It's kind of like Swiss teams. Every Swiss team, they surprise because they play together a lot. A lot of them play in the Swiss league together. And I'm assuming that's the same. I don't know a lot of the names on the Iranian team, but with Wales, US, Iran, England, I mean, two of the UK teams in the same bracket. That's pretty crazy. But what do you think, man? This is a tough one.
I think this is a tough group, and I don't think you get a World Cup winner out of this group, but I think the group in itself, the battle to get out of that group is a tough one. And I think my allegiances probably shine through on this. That I think it's going to be England and the USA, but I think England comes out on top. I think they'll do well early in the cup, and like you said, I think they'll kind of fizzle as they go. Probably that tends to be their MO. And I think for USA, I'm just kind of praying they get out of the group. I think they have the ability to, but are they going to be able to step up in every one of those matches against, probably similar ability type opponents to gut their way out of that group? And I think the telltale game in that group probably will be England versus USA. I think that's probably one of the early matches I'm really looking forward to in group stage. But I'm going to say England 1, USA 2 out of that group.
Yeah, so I will say that I agree. England will be. I'm holding up the England jersey right now because that's going to, I think, be the team that's going to come out on top. That being said, I wouldn't be shocked if England doesn't go through out of this group. Like you said, I mean, it's like this group is. You never count out Gareth Bale. I often call him Christian Bale on accident because he's Batman.
You've done that on the podcast before,
I have.
Yeah.
And, and Batman, you can never count him out. So, but Gareth Bale, I mean, he shows up in big games, right? You got Daniel James, who's fast, super fast, right? So he came out on Sunday against United, his old team, and scored as a super sub, right? So you got these guys that on the Welsh team that are tough. And Iran, man, in the Middle East, I don't know, man. They're gonna be fired up. They're like right at home. So and it's tough to travel. That's why you see the South American team struggle in Europe and vice versa. But I still think US will squeak it out. Man, I don't know. I think I'm with you. I think it's our allegiance, our like nationalism. We're like, come on, because the way they've been playing lately, I'm not thrilled. But they have some dangerous players. They have some really dangerous players. If they can pull it together with the youth and the exuberance, it is the youngest team in the World Cup. A lot of people don't realize that about the U.S. team. So I hope they do. I don't see them going very far, but I hope they pull it out and get out of the group at the very least. And who knows, maybe make a run. They've done it in the past. And Croatia, other teams have surprised us to get really far in the World Cup. So who knows? But yeah, I'm going with England. England first, U.S. second. All right, Group C. We got Argentina, we got South Korea, Mexico, and Poland.
It's Argentina, Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, Mexico, sorry. Not South
Poland.
Korea. Saudi Arabia. Sorry. I got the KSA words wrong. So that's right. Thank you for correcting me on that. Accountability.
No.
Right? Thank you.
That's right. Accountability. Group C. I'm going Argentina and Poland on that one. I think Argentina comes out of the group on top, and Poland, sorry to my Mexican friends, I don't know if Mexico gets out of the group or not. I'm not, as I have some allegiance to Mexico for sure. Similar to the US, I just don't know that Mexico has enough of it consistently to get out of the group this year. And they've got to get through Argentina and Poland to do it. I think those are two tough teams. Whereas I think the Group B is a little bit of it's a tight group, but there's not really a powerhouse in that group. Group C isn't as tough, but you've got some, two really, really good teams. And Argentina for sure has a chance to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Messi's last World Cup, I'd love to see him go out with a World Cup championship, but I just don't know if Mexico gets through.
It's interesting. U.S. youngest team, Mexico oldest team, I believe, or their very old team. Regardless, Cho's tough keeper. Again, as a keeper, that often gets you through in a World Cup if they get hot, right? I mean, Tim Howard, when the U.S. went and barely lost to Belgium, he was a hot keeper, right? So I don't know. This is a tough group. I agree. I think Argentina does go through, although we've seen them just completely flounder in World Cups, unfortunately. I would like to see Messi go very far, although if they win the group, they will end up hitting Brazil most likely in the semis. That's going to be tough for them. That would be a really killer semi to watch, though.
Like a final.
Yeah, exactly. And so I do think Argentina does come out on top, and I'm gonna pick Mexico here just because I don't want my freshman daughter who said Mexico's going to go super far because that's all they do there. And she's right. It's all they do in any of these countries, but that's the country she's been to other than Honduras. And they played more in Honduras when she went down there last summer. All they did was play soccer. I don't know. I think Poland's probably the better team, but something Mexico they just somehow pull it out every time in the World Cup to make it through the first round.
Yeah. Well, Phil, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Mexico goes through over Poland.
Yeah.
But my gut is going with Poland.
Yeah. And Lewandowski, man, the dude's just super good. Like, it's hard to pick against him, but I'm gonna go with Argentina, Mexico. So that's right. Our first. I mean, I guess we disagree on the order in Group A, but there we go. We'll see. All right, Group D. We got France. We got Austria. Or is that Australia? It's Australia.
Australia.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Australia.
Australia. I'm just going with the abbreviations, just showing how terrible I am with the abbreviations of countries. France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. I think this one's a bit easier for me. I'm gonna go with France and Denmark, and I think I'm actually gonna just go a little bit on a limb here because I really like Christian Eriksen, and I think that passion. Denmark is a solid team. I think I'm gonna pick Denmark at the top of this. France going number 2 out of this group. And that's going to be a controversial pick because I think a lot of people, but I just see France implode sometimes in the World Cup, and that's what I'm going with. So here's my French jersey here, and I think their talent on the French team will very likely take them very far. But I don't know, man. I think Denmark's got this whole Christian Eriksen thing going on right now, and they're just a very tight knit group. So I'm going with the team.
Okay. All right. So you showed the France, just to be clear for our audience, you showed the France jersey, but you're picking them second out of the group.
That is correct. That is correct. Okay. Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going Viva la Blue.
I don't have a Danish jersey, so I couldn't show the Danish jersey, but I still have. If
anybody has a Danish jersey, let's get that over to Phil.
Yeah, please.
ASAP.
That'd be pretty fantastic.
That would be pretty fantastic. Well, I'm going to flip that. The two are absolutely correct, but I think that France is going to come out on top. We have seen them implode at times. I'm hoping that they've resolved those issues through leadership changes and whatnot. But I'm going Viva la Blue, and I think they come out of the group on top. But I definitely think Denmark is the other team.
You got to remember Pogba and Conte are hurt too, so that's going to be interesting for them in that midfield. But their attack is insane, though. I mean, just flat out insane. So I wouldn't want to face them. But I hope Denmark does it. Let's go Christian Eriksen. I liked him before he came to United, by the way, just for the record.
Just to clarify.
Yeah. Even before his heart attack, I like that guy. Even when he was playing for Tottenham, he's always had he just does his job, man. I like the guys who just do their job. They don't make a big stink about it. They just do their job, and they play really, really well and super hard the whole game. So, all right, we have Spain, Costa Rica, right? That is Costa Rica, correct?
Yep.
Germany and Japan.
You want me to go on that one?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. I think the top two are going to be Germany 1, Spain 2. I think those are the two to come out of that group. I would love to see Costa Rica do some damage, but I don't think that's really possible. That's a tough group, man.
I don't think that. Yeah, come on.
Two of the world leaders in that group right there. It's going to be Spain and Germany. I do think Germany probably comes out on top of that group. I'm just leaning that way based on just kind of what I think. But I'd love to see both of those teams go really far. I'm a fan of the Spain team, but I think Germany comes out of that group on top. But I think Spain and Germany both make a lot of noise through the tournament.
I agree. Deutschland is going to take that group. I believe they just do, right? They're just solid. As much as France tends to implode a lot of times, they either win it or they implode, right? Germany is like just steady. I mean, to see them beat Brazil 7-1, like that's insane.
Yeah.
But that's what Germany can do. It's funny after watching the Bayern Munich documentary, like some of these guys I wouldn't think of them. I don't know if you watched that at all, but like Thomas Muller is a total jokester. Like I would not expect that with that guy. Like when he's playing, he just seems like he's like kind of just, I'm gonna be intense German guy. I'm like German, right? And he's just like goofing around, joking around. It's kind of like Horst, right? Like hanging out with Horst, right? Like, that's what I can see. Like the Horst probably early on, and it's probably kind of like the Thomas Muller there. But you get that good German. They're gonna have their good Wiener Schnitzel, and I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna take that bracket. They're gonna take Group E.
So you're calling that they're gonna have the winner Schnitzel.
So exactly. Very good.
I like it.
I like it. Well done, Paul Jobson.
Thank you.
With a good pun.
Much.
Well done.
Yep.
Okay. Group F. We got Belgium, Canada, is that Morocco, and Croatia, the surprise of the last World Cup.
Go ahead. What do you think? He's got a jersey, folks. He's got a jersey.
Belgium will, I think they're going to take this group, and this is a tough one for me. It's not going to be Morocco, I don't think. I think they're a decent team. They're going to play super defensive. They're going to be boring, I think. But I'm gonna go with our Canadian neighbors. The exciting team they have. I think they're going to surprise. Croatia is a team like it could just as easily be Croatia and Canada as it could be Belgium. In those three teams, they're good. I mean, they're really good teams. Canada has a lot of players who are playing over in Europe, and I think that's and they have the youthful, like that just can just surprise, and their pace. They have tons of pace on that team. But I think Belgium goes through as the winner, and I think Canada and Croatia are going to battle it out for that second spot, and I think Canada's going to, again, I think this may be my North American. To have three CONCACAF teams would be that'd be very rare. But I think I would like to see that, so I'm going to go for it.
I'm going to agree with you on that. As much as I enjoyed watching Croatia the last time out have a lot of success, fun team to watch. Our family really rallied around that team. It was a lot of fun. I don't see it happening again, but I do agree. I think it could be a toss up between Canada and Croatia getting through in that group. Belgium comes through number one, I think, for sure. But I'm going to go with Canada too, and it may be my North American CONCACAF allegiance as well. But I think that Canada gets through the second team out of that group.
And it is hard to go against Modric as well, because that dude is super good, and all those guys. I mean, all the itches, I guess, Perisic, and I mean, all those guys are very, very, very good players, and they are. But again, I think sometimes in the World Cup, man, these one-off games, you get these players that just get, But anyway, yeah. So I think that's what we got there. Okay, Group G: Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. You go first.
I'll go. I love watching Cameroon play. I love watching it play. I love the athleticism. I love the speed. I love I love the spirit around that team. I don't think they get out of the group, but I do love watching that team. I'm going Brazil 1. I think Brazil's got a really great chance of winning it all the way through. I think you've got a potential champion coming out of Group G with Brazil. And I think Switzerland joins them. I think Switzerland's going to be the second team out of that group. So I'm going to go with Switzerland. I know that Serbia's got a pretty good team too. I think there's some pundits out there that say that Serbia is going to go through, but I'm going to go with the Swiss.
Like I said, I really like the Swiss teams. I mean, they play well together. They are a team almost
It's
every time I ever see them play.
like a Swiss Army knife or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think the last one was better. The last one was better.
I'm trying too hard now, aren't I, Phil?
Yeah, I don't know. That was not as good. It was okay. I mean, some people will probably laugh. Some people will like that,
I'll
and
get some
that's good.
groaners out of it. I'm good at
Yeah,
getting groaners. Yeah.
we did have. Why am I blanking on his name? I always blank on his name. Zach Hoffman, who did write the book Swiss Army Leadership. So that
Yeah.
goes back to that. If you didn't listen to that episode, go back. So that's a little plug for that.
There
But
you go.
I gotta redeem that joke there.
Yeah.
So, um, I think, but because I think they too, oftentimes they play for Basel or they play for the different Swiss clubs, and because they know each other really well. I too am going with Brazil, my old school Brazil jersey. A buddy of mine
Oh
got this
yes.
for me. You see how old school it is. Look at that one. Not
Ronaldo,
Cristiano, but the original Ronaldo, number 9,
the
right there.
OG.
OG, absolutely. I too think they go very far and possibly win it this time around. I'm gonna go with Serbia though. They're gonna be, as much as I like the Swiss, I think they're gonna be the Eastern European team. I don't think they're gonna be a surprise to anybody out of this group because they're good.
No, I think they
They're very
can
good
get
players.
through. Yeah, for
They
sure.
and they're right there too. That's the other thing, I mean, all of them are right there, but it's just all these teams are local teams too to Qatar, so relatively speaking. So that's going to be my two. Actually, Brazil's not, but Brazil, all their players play in Europe pretty much. So
Yeah.
All right, Brazil this year is they're going to be tough. They're going to be really tough, I think. All right, Group H, Portugal, Ghana. I can't read my eyes.
Ghana.
Or Ghana,
Yeah.
Uruguay, and this is Korea. We have finally made our way to Korea, which of course is KOR. So that was very difficult for me early on, thinking Saudi Arabia was Korea, but that's okay. So Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. Man, this is another. It's a tough one because these are like a lot of people are like, oh, well, you got Cristiano Ronaldo and Fernandez and whatever in Portugal, but I don't know. They typically underperform. And Ronaldo, as I've watched all year, is old. He's not like Messi's playing. Messi's still playing at a level that's changing games. Ronaldo just scores. I mean, quite frankly, all he does, and he doesn't even do that anymore this year. His attitude is piss poor. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know, but I did.
Sure.
Hernandez does some great stuff out there. They have some other players who are very, very good. Yeah, Felix, some of these other young guys are very, very good. I don't know. Son over at South Korea. Again, those guys play very hard with a lot of passion. That guy is a very, very good player. Uruguay has a very good team this year too. They're kind of a hidden gem there. Ghana, I don't think Ghana does it. Those other three teams is going to be interesting. I'm going to go with Uruguay winning this group and South Korea number 2.
I like your picks. I'm just going to say this. I think Ghana's not going to get out of the group, but I think Ghana's going to upset one of these three teams and keep that team from being the second team through. I'm just going to go ahead and predict that Ghana is going to play the role of the spoiler this year, and they're going to keep one of the two teams out. And I'm going to say that Uruguay is going through as the number 1 team. I agree with that, but I think that Ghana is going to play the role of the spoiler. They're going to get overlooked by either Portugal or South Korea, and they're going to be the team that keeps one of those teams from being the second team out. Now, in saying that, I'm going to say it's South Korea. I may be eating my words on this, so I'm going Uruguay and Portugal getting through out of that group. But I do think that Korea has a really good shot of getting out. But I think Ghana is going to play the role of the spoiler.
All right. I like that. I like that, even the twist of bringing Ghana in as the villain for the other team. That's like and I think you're going back to when they spoiled the U.S. dreams in the knockout round a few years back.
Yeah, maybe there's something still stuck inside of me in that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was we felt really good about that one, and in extra time to just destroy, crush the dreams. Okay, so we're not going to go through each knockout round. That would take way, way too long. We're just going to go and say, all right, who's going to win this thing and why? You go.
You want to go first on that?
No,
I'm going to go first.
Well, yeah.
I can
you
go first.
You go first.
Yeah, I'm going to go first. I think Brazil's going to win it all.
Yeah.
I think Brazil's got the best team from top to, and I just think it comes down to that. I think they show the most consistency. I don't see as many holes in there. When I'm trying to poke holes in different teams, even as we're kind of talking through this player, that player, this strength, that weakness. I just think that they're the toughest team, and I think that they're gonna, based on their road to get there too. I think coming out of their group gives them a pretty good road through. Obviously, there's a lot that can happen. I mean, they could see Germany early on, and that could be crazy. There's one route where they could actually see Spain and Argentina before they got to the final to possibly face Germany. So they could have a tough road, but I think that for that team, I don't think they do well when they're playing maybe not as good at teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to stay sharp and they need to stay focused. But I think from top to bottom, they're the best team. I think they've got the best chance of going all the way through. So I'm going to say my favorite is Brazil.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Here's a team I really like. I just can't pick them because they haven't performed great at the world stage. This Belgian team, it's their last shot really with this golden age of the Belgian team. I really like them. That being said, I don't think they make it. I don't think they make it. I agree with you. Germany, solid. They're always solid. I think they're aging too. They're top players. That gives them great leadership, but I also don't think it gives them the best chance, the best shot. So they're going down here. I'm showing jerseys, by the way, for you listening. It's way more suspenseful to watch the video, but that's okay. You can just pretend you're seeing the jersey. This team here, again, like I said, the French team, they're a team that has it. They have all the tools. I just don't think they do it this year. English team, as much as I would love to see them go through, I don't see that this year.
I'm shocked that they're even in the discussion. I guess you're just going through your jerseys. Okay.
I'm going through your
jerseys. All right. Okay. All right.
But England is one of those teams that, like, talent-wise on the field with the players they have, they could do it. But
I just think everybody thinks because they invented the sport that they have to be in the discussion.
No, I mean I think the other reason why is because the Premier League is the world's most watched league, that a lot of those players we know, right? But the reason why a lot
of those players aren't playing for England. A lot of those players
aren't playing for England, but a lot of the ones who we see do, right? So, and then they're playing pretty well right now. I mean, Saka's playing very well for Arsenal. Rashford's back. He's clearly back. The center midfield is where I think they aren't as strong. That's unfortunately where they're not going to. And you need a strong center midfield, which goes to the Dutch team, which is very strong center midfield. And I think they're going to go very far. I think they make the semis or the final this year. But I'm going to go with you. I agree. I think Brazil takes it this year. I think they're just flat out the strongest team. That, and I mean, France again. I mean, you got Benzema playing at the top of his game. You have their squad. France, Netherlands, Belgium. As far as talent wise, like, I think France, Belgium, a step above where because De Bruyne, man. I mean, you just can't count that dude out. He's insane. That being said, Brazil, I think, takes it home for, what is that, the sixth time?
Oh, okay. I just saw that stat too. I wish I could remember.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
A lot of times. So it'd be way better if I could just say that a number, but that's okay. I don't want to be wrong. Are you gonna look it up right now? Are you our producer? Should we get our producer, Paul?
Yeah, I'll see. Let's find out.
So Brazil, this is how the sausage is made. This is our producer right now. They have
the suspense is killing me.
They've won five.
So
this will be their sixth title. That's what we're predicting. Yep. So folks,
58, 62, 70, 94, 2002.
There we go. So they're due. So, all right, folks, I want to hear your picks. So, let us know your picks. Show them. You can send them in. You can go on to the Facebook group and show them there. Just put them down there. Email us, whatever. I would say if we were super organized, we would have had a pool and done all kinds of stuff, brackets and all that stuff, but we're not doing that. So I encourage you to do it with your family. It's a fun thing to do with your kids. Get them involved with it, even if they're not super into soccer. It's a global thing, man. This is just part of what the world is doing. It'll introduce them to the world too. It's a great way to show your kids, like, hey, these countries, and then talk about that country. What's that country? Where are they? What are they doing to get, the world is small. And it's a great way to get them involved with it, and to watch games together is a lot of fun. So if you do like a bracket together and you do what we just did and say, who are your two teams that are coming out of it, all that, then they actually have something to cheer for. Is that yours right there? Is that what you got?
No, these were our picks so that when we come back at the
you
end
wrote
of this,
them down.
remember who we picked. Yep.
Okay, you wrote mine down.
Accountability.
You wrote mine
down
too.
Down.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I can't change it, and they go, "Oh
you
no,
can't
what are you
change
talking
it now.
about? I
No.
picked.
Mm-mm.
What are you talking
No.
about? I picked Poland. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But know what? Another thing that's really fun, and we're not sponsored by Panini, but those Panini player card books, World Cup books,
Yeah,
you can pick them up at CVS, Walgreens, something like that. My kids absolutely love that. You get the player cards or stickers, you fill in the book. It's got all that. That's really a fun way to follow along with the World Cup as well. So
yeah, we did that. I think
Panini, if you'd like to sponsor the pod, that'd be fine. But right now they're not. So
we will take it. We are accepting sponsorship. So if you do want to sponsor us, you can do that. We have had a couple over the last couple of years. But yeah, that is a cool way too. So whatever it is, I mean, I see these opportunities like this to be able to connect with others, to be able to connect with your kids, to be able to connect with to bring your family together, bring friends together. A guy at church, he's been like, he's a soccer guy. We're like, hey, let's get together and watch one of the games. So we're gonna, we picked a game and we're gonna do it. It'll be a lot of fun. So those are, I encourage you to do that. This is not just a time to sit by yourself and watching these games. This is a time, go out, go to a sports bar, go to places, get to know people, watch with your family. Take this as an opportunity to also, we'll be talking, I imagine, throughout about just some of the different leadership things we see, the different coaches that are doing different things. That's something that I looked at in like Carlos Queiroz, I believe, on the Iranian team, and a former Man U and Portugal manager. Can't count those guys out either. It's like that goes into a lot of this, is the coaches and the managers and how they're bringing together their teams and how they're encouraging their players and because it's hard to bring a team together of a bunch of really, really, really good players who are the top of their game, and they think they're the best at everything. And then you bring them together on a team, and they have to be a team in a very short time, which is why you see a lot of these teams not doing well, is because you have a bunch of attitudes and they don't play together as a team. So anyway, there's all these different things, which is why the drama of the World Cup, there's nothing like it in any sport. I don't care what it is. Mm-hmm. There's nothing like the drama of the World Cup. And especially, I don't know if you were able to go when it came in 94, but I went to Palo Alto and the Brazilians were there. It was Brazil, Cameroon. Unbelievable. Just seeing the passion and the fun and the dancing and the colors and it was so cool. I got to go to
we were in
games.
Orlando with the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It was same thing. It was amazing. You almost stayed outside to be part of the outside culture. It was just as amazing as the culture inside the stadium.
100%. And at Palo Alto, it was amazing, because I don't know if you've ever been at Stanford campus, but it's just tons of space. So you have just trees, and the parking lot is not a park, it's just dirt. So it was everywhere. It was just party everywhere. It was so cool. It's not like some of these just parking lots and whatever. It was basically you're camping. It felt like you were camping with the Brazilians. It was so cool. So anyway, well, all right, well, cool. Well, folks, appreciate you. If you stuck with us this long, it means you actually, you love the banter, and that's great. We love that. And I hope that you're taking something from this. We talked about leadership at the beginning. We did, but we wanted to go down and talk about some of these teams and just have a good time. And then you guys can hold us accountable and see how we know nothing about the sport or how we are just flat out brilliant. One of the two, or somewhere in between, is more likely, or actually not the brilliant part. Maybe that's pretty easy to say, not what so we are, but that's okay. We just love doing it. We love being a part of your lives, and we love you guys being a part of ours. I do consider that definitely part of our lives, as we are engaged in this stuff together and just having some fun doing this one. But with everything, as we're doing this stuff, we talked about Warrior Way earlier. That's some great stuff that Paul and Marcy and their team are doing out there in Waco and beyond. So check that out, warriorwaysoccer.com. The disc training that I'm able to do with different teams and clubs. If you're interested in that at all, I'm actually looking for a few more clubs to work with to get there, to be able to do I'm actually doing a study on retention of players and being able to see which personality styles we're retaining. And I have some theories on that we'll talk about. We're going to be talking about that on this show because I really care about the kids, and I don't want kids to stop playing just because it's not fun or they don't think they're good enough or whatever. And they're just the way they're wired drives them out of the game. And that's stuff that we as coaches, we as leaders can actually play a role in. We can help them to stay in the game with different things. And so I'm speaking at the United States Soccer or the United Soccer Coaches Convention about that. And in fact, the United Soccer Coaches Convention is coming up. And that's something that, Paul, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be able to make it to that because of the wrestling, right? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it's a wrestling tournament for that.
There's a lot going on this winter.
But boy, that's a bummer. But I'll be there. I'll be at Podcast Row. Very excited about that. I got a breakout session that I will be speaking on. Like I said, that player retention. And the other thing about it is there's some great speakers that are going to be that some of them have been on the show. Some of them have been a part of this podcast. So I encourage you. Dan Abrams is one of them. So, and that's the thing. I don't know if I've told you this already. That's one difficult thing about my talk is I'm in the same time slot as Dan Abrams. So, folks, what I encourage you to do is listen to the Dan Abrams episode of How Soccer Explains Leadership, and then come to the breakout that I will be doing with some other people. Because, I'm sure he'll say the same stuff, right? Right, Paul? I mean, what do you think? He always just says the same stuff. It's
totally.
One trick pony. I mean, come on, let's be honest. I'm kidding. Dan is not. But what I do want to say, I mean, we are, this is something that we have shared with you is you don't want to miss this 2023 United Soccer Coaches Convention in Philadelphia. It is January 11th through the 15th. Convention is the largest gathering of soccer coaches, administrators, and fans in the world. You can send sessions crafted with your coaching level, whatever it is. If you're high school, there's high school coaches. If there's college, pro, grassroots, all kinds of stuff. Desired topic, anything you can think of, not anything, but a lot of things you can think of are covered at the convention. I know we went last year, Paul, and I learned a ton. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you. World-class educators, over 200 lecture sessions, field demonstrations, offer every coach something that really you can bring back and use in your training sessions. Amanda Vandervoort, who we're going to be getting on this show at some point. I've talked with her about it. We just haven't gotten our schedules together. President of the USL Super League. She's going to be there. Anthony Flores. He's youth technical director of the Philadelphia Union. Laura Harvey, she's the head coach of the Reign FC, and that's NWSL, if I'm not mistaken. Becky Burley and Brett Ledbetter, I'm hoping to get them on the show as well. What Drives Winning, one of them at least. You probably heard of some of their stuff, whether you know that or not. Dan Abrams, as I talked about. There's going to be a whole lot more too coming, but check it out. You can go register at UnitedSoccerCoachesConvention.org. So that's coming your way in just like a month and a half. It's crazy. It's coming upon us. So I encourage you guys, go check that out. If you're coaching, if you're listening to this show, I would be surprised if that's not something that you would want to be a part of. So there's that. We also have all the other things that we're working on. I just, I don't even need to talk about all that. You've seen it. You can go to our show notes and you can see the different things that we're doing, like coaching the bigger game. And with everything that we do, at the end of the day, what we really hope and pray you're going to be able to do with this show is you're going to be able to use it to be a better spouse, a better parent, a better friend, a better leader in all that you do, better in every relationship that you have. And continually remind yourself, as the World Cup is upon us, as all this amazing excitement is going on, that soccer does explain life and leadership. Thanks a lot. Have a great couple weeks.